You know my thoughts on the ceasefire, which I shared in the previous video, which you can go back and watch. Here are comments from Naftali Bennet, the former prime minister, who is being interviewed here about the ceasefire. And I was concerned, and I'm very happy to see that he's not capitalizing on this situation to pivot himself against Netanyahu so that he can position himself to become the next prime minister again, which I've sensed he's done in past interviews. But he was far more sensible here in saying that, there's a lot of pressure, and he acknowledges some of the realities of decisions of this kind and what's involved with them. And makes some other very good comments about the state of Hamas and the ultimate mission of Israel. This is a very fascinating interview to watch. Here we go.
Israel. This is really at the...
I want to bring in former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennet. Sir, your reaction to what Trey just reported?
In Israel, we have a fundamental principle that we don't leave anyone behind. And as a former soldier and commander and the Prime Minister of Israel, this is really at the core of what makes Israel strong, is that solidarity. This is a heart-wrenching decision, make no mistake, because they're gonna release only third of the hostages, while we have 2/3 who are going to remain hostages for the time being. And there's a considerable price here, but we're bracing ourselves for difficult days to embrace these hostages that are being released and bring them home.
Explain to me the mechanics of the political side of this. This is something that Trey just touched on in his live report. This is tomorrow a.m. The Supreme Court, that's one component, the Israeli Supreme Court, but also the Israeli Security Cabinet. They've got to vote. They've got to accept the terms of the deal, and then Israel's parliament as well. Are you confident that those are going to be yes votes? And this passes through all of these. The
Supreme Court will certainly confirm, so will the government. It doesn't require the parliament. The Knesset does not have to vote, so this is going to pass. There may be some opposition in the cabinet, but it's going to pass.
In your opinion, is this a good deal that Netanyahu is moving forward with?
Look, I don't want to second guess the current government. It's an agonizing decision to make under tremendous pressures. I've been in that seat. I know how hard it is to govern Israel. There'll be a time and place to analyze how we reach this point, because to be honest, we had set 3 objectives and we've not yet met those objectives. It was defeating Hamas, replacing Hamas as the governing entity of Gaza, and bringing home all the hostages. So we're a year and 2 months in, and we've not yet achieved that. So I think at this point, it's already fait accompli. This deal is done, and now we have to prepare to receive these hostages, begin the long process of, getting back on our feet. Israel will persevere. That I can promise you. We're a strong nation, and ultimately we're going to defeat Hamas.
You are a strong nation. I agree with that 100%. But I have a question, though, with regards to the structure of the deal, because what about Gaza now? Because does this effectively give Hamas back Gaza? I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu said repeatedly after October 7th that the elimination of Hamas was the goal. Does this agreement actually complete that?
No, it doesn't. For the time being, Hamas, unfortunately, remains the sovereign or the governing entity of Gaza. That's a bad thing. That's part of the meaningful price of this deal. However, after 42 days, Israel will be able to continue to pursue the removal of Hamas. And I know both the outgoing and incoming administrations in the United States totally support the replacement of Hamas in Gaza. We're going to have to do that.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, but what did you make of Steve Witkoff's participation in these negotiations. He is President-elect Donald Trump's nominee, of course, to be Middle East envoy, but he was already in the ground in Doha and Qatar as in a piece of this. We had our president, President Joe Biden, last night take credit, and rightly so, for putting together the structure of the deal. It seems that the deal that's in place now was pretty much what Joe Biden had put together and the UN had voted for at the beginning of last summer. Final word on that.
Well, we're thankful to President Biden and to incoming President Trump. Clearly, Trump's involvement had a meaningful impact that's obvious to anyone who looks at it. All I can say is that in Israel, while we can only try and celebrate life, even amid the huge price that we're paying, on the other side of the border in Gaza, we're seeing huge celebrations of death. And people chanting, we're going to continue October 7th, live Yahya Sinwar. This is what we're dealing with. We're undaunted. We are strong. We will defeat Hamas. It'll take maybe longer than we had hoped, but we ultimately are fighting for life, for good, and good will prevail.
All right. Thank you, Naftali, for joining us.
I mean, there are two very big, important points that he mentions at the end. First of all, the contrast. There goes Hamas again. After everything, they're celebrating in the street. It just defies anything a Western mind can comprehend. We have to understand who we're dealing with. Number two is Hamas must be obliterated. And that has been the number one goal of this war, and it cannot stop. So after these 42 days, Israel must go back in and hopefully find a much more efficient and quicker way of getting this done. Hopefully with the new administration, they will have the backing to be able to do that in a much bolder fashion and get the job completely done.